Hi, I'm Andrew, a senior UX consultant from Creative CX, and I'm talking today about how you can use jobs to be done research to enable customer-driven innovation. So I want to start with a question. Are you looking to improve your current proposition, or are you planning to launch a brand new product or service? If you are, then can you confidently say that you understand your users' needs and where your proposition fits into their lives? As Albert Einstein once said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solutions. But unfortunately, when it comes to innovation, this often isn't the case. Instead of spending the time to gain a deep understanding of customer needs and the problems they face, there is a tendency to jump straight into ideas and solutions. Consequently, this lack of user insight is a common reason for the failure of new products, features, and services. Fortunately, there are a host of customer research methods that can provide us with the much needed user insight. Most noticeably, the Jobs to be Done framework. When used effectively, this framework allows us to combine the insights from a number of research methods to create successful products that address user needs. To conduct this research properly, there are 3 broad activities that need to be completed. First of all, gathering insights via user interviews. Secondly, quantifying your findings in an importance or satisfaction survey. And finally, plotting your findings onto a customer journey map. The first thing I want to talk about in kind of detail is jobs to be done interviews. So the first thing we really want to do is to interview as many users as possible. Usually we can uncover a good amount of insight with kind of 15 to 20 interviews, but this may be more or less depending on the quality of your recruitment and the complexity of the customer journey. Your first objective in these interviews is to gain a comprehensive understanding for the core functional job that your target audience is trying to complete, and then you want to formulate this into a job statement. Once you've identified this, you can then start to unravel the customer journey and their more detailed needs, including kind of the importance and the current satisfaction levels for each one. But you might be asking, what is a job statement? And that's a very good question. Well, it's a short sentence that describes what the customer is ultimately trying to accomplish. It should be functional in nature and applicable over long periods of time, outlasting any existing solutions in the market. As Harvard economics professor Theodore Levitt once said, people don't want a quarter-inch drill, they want a quarter-inch hole. And this is really the perfect example of how people buy products and services to get jobs done. For example, let's consider the job of staying up to date with the local news. Your job really isn't to read a newspaper or watch the evening news broadcast. These are solutions that serve this job. Instead, your job might be, when trying to stay up to date with the local news, I want to minimize the time it takes to find accurate content so I appear well informed to my peers. So it's a bit wordy, but a well-worded job statement like this is timeless and was as applicable 30 years ago when newspapers and TVs were the most convenient solutions to today's world where people also get their news from websites, apps, and social media. There are many other components to a well-written job statement, but when done correctly, this can really act as a guiding star for all future innovation. After defining your customer job and the job statements, your second objective in jobs to be done interviews is to identify the steps that customers are trying to take in order to complete that job. We want to pinpoint exactly what their needs are at each point in this journey, so that when we move to quantitative methods, we can evaluate which of these needs are most important and which are over or underserved. What's interesting about these interviews is the breadth of time they cover. You can start by exploring the point of purchase, then take the user right back to the first thought, when you initially started trying to get their job done. From here, you try to move chronologically through their thoughts, actions, and experiences to try and paint as vivid a picture as possible. This customer journey can sometimes be months or even years long, so it's really important to focus on the crucial parts first, but also maintaining a good level of detail across all stages. Using these job to be done interview techniques, we can quickly identify the functional, emotional, and social problems that users face when trying to complete their job. And as a result, we can start to identify what areas of the customer journey contain the biggest problems and opportunities. For example, imagine trying to find accurate news content on social media platforms when you encounter fake news, or being unable to quickly find news content related to the topic you're interested in on journalism platforms. Following these interviews, it's not uncommon to have upwards of 100 customer needs, all of which come with unique opportunities to improve your proposition. Before focusing on any specific needs or handpicking the ones we want to address, it's crucial that these are quantified of a larger audience in a survey. By doing so, we can prioritise the right needs to address by identifying which needs are most important and which are underserved. The first aspect that really needs your attention is survey recruitment, and I can't understate this enough. The exact number of people you want to answer your survey can depend, but wherever possible, you want to aim for at least 1,000 responses. Arguably, the more important objective in your recruitment is to obtain users who have recently undertaken a core functional job. If they have, then their answers are going to be more accurate as they have a better memory of the process that they went through. When we get onto the customer needs survey itself, there are two key objectives. First, we want to identify how important each need is to the respondents, and secondly, we want to identify how satisfied they are in their ability to do it. If we return to our example of finding local news content, one user need identified through the interviews might be, I need to avoid reading fake news online. For this particular statement, we can then ask two questions in the survey. First of all, when reading news content online, how important is it that you're able to avoid fake news? And secondly, when reading news content online, how satisfied are you with your ability to avoid fake news? So really, it all comes down to importance and satisfaction. Once you have your survey responses, you can quickly identify and prioritise the user needs which are most important and also the ones which are underserved. This brings you from 100 plus needs to kind of 5 or 10 that you can really start to focus your attention on by going through this prioritisation framework. The last thing I want to talk about is customer journey maps. So now you've completed your jobs to be done interviews and customer needs survey, you should have a clear understanding of the core functional job that the user is trying to complete and a prioritised list of functional, emotional, and social user needs. However, in order to fully understand when and where these issues are occurring, we need to plot our findings onto a customer journey map. But what is a customer journey map? Well, it's basically a research-driven diagram that illustrates the steps that a user goes through when interacting with your company. This can and should cover all touch points, from physical to digital, starting right at the moment when customers begin researching solutions to their core functional job, right up until the post-purchase experience. The precise content of a customer journey map can depend on your research findings and project objectives, but it typically covers the following inputs: the different stages of the journey, customer job statements, your functional, emotional, and social user needs, the importance and satisfaction scores for each user need, the attitudes and emotions that a user experiences across the journey, the customer's touch points, both online and offline, the customer's pain points, and also the business touch points as well. When mapping out these inputs across the whole customer journey, we can quickly visualize where the user's points of frictions are and the points where they may engage with different teams from the business. As this is a visual tool that's often designed to a high standard, the customer journey map can also be a great resource to share amongst your organization, either by sharing it with stakeholders or even printing it in a large format to place around the office. So to conclude, many organizations will only gain customer feedback after already having created product roadmaps or sometimes even following the launch of new products, services, and features. But by using the jobs to be done framework, future roadmaps can become driven by customer needs, with the customer's core functional job really acting as a guiding star for all future innovation and improvements to the proposition. Therefore, by gathering insights from jobs to be done interviews, quantifying findings in the customer needs survey, and plotting the user's actions on the customer journey map, we are able to gain a far clearer picture of where your innovation efforts are best placed, increasing the chances of delivering successful products. To find out more about using the jobs to be done research to enable customer-driven innovation, please feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or use the contact form on our website. Thanks very much.